Good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of Divine Love Talk. I trust that all is well on this Tuesday, right? First day of Gemini season. Happy birthday to my Geminis as we pull out the Kipper cards and see the lovers on the bottom, which is the sign of one of the cards that represents Gemini. We will be doing love readings on the live. If you would like a personal reading on the live, that information is in the bio, but we will be doing a general reading for the collective to see what you guys need to know about this Tuesday, which is a 2 day, right? Because it's the 20th, and we break that down to 2. And 2 is the number of partnerships, not just love partnerships, but those one-to-one relationships. You know that full moon in Scorpio? That we had, what was that, a week ago, a little bit more than a week ago. It has disrupted so many in the collective, especially when it comes to the divine masculine. They have really been going or being dragged through that dark night of the soul to finally release the people, places, and things that do not serve their highest good, whether they're in their 20s or their 60s and beyond. A lot of people are coming to the realization that the problems that they are facing now are manifestations of the way they were acting, the way they were thinking, the folks that they were associating with in the near past, in the past 3 years, 5 years, and such. A lot of people are realizing that the game plan that they had for their life was built on a very, very faulty foundation. That's why when the full moon in Scorpio came through as an endpoint, right? For all the reflection the collective has been called to do since October, after we had those eclipses at the end of September, beginning of October. There were a lot of revelations. People were seeing things in their dreams. Businesses were falling apart. Friendships were falling apart. Homes were falling apart. Anything built on a faulty foundation wasn't going to last. So if something ended during that time frame, it was because it was supposed to end during that time frame. Try not to have any bad feelings, any negative feelings, any qualms about how life showed up, because it showed up exactly the way that it was supposed to. We're going to get into the general reading for the collective as I look down at the clock and it says 1, 2, 3, 4. Hit it, right? We're going to get into the general reading. Please share any thoughts, any feelings that you're having as we're pulling the reading. Keep hitting the like button as it keeps us relevant in the TikTok algorithm. And let's TikTok know that you are now rocking with the real Etta and not one of these fakes that try to perpetrate being me. We only have a little limited amount of slots today for readings, as always. Subscribers to the live get a 1-card pull, but if you would like a mini reading, and we'll pin that for you guys. Hold on. Hold on. Subbies get a 1-card pull. Mini readings available in bio. We'll do about 4 or 5 readings on the live today. We'll pin that to the top for folks. Right? Cool. Moderators, if you could keep that comment pinned for me, that would be peachy keen. Holy Spirit, what message do you have for the collective on this Tuesday? Right? As we're gonna take that. Right? Because it didn't fall on the floor. It fell between the chair and the table. Moderators, please keep track of who makes a request. What is the vibe on this Tuesday? Happy birthday, Geminis. Gemini risings, moon signs, Venus, and Mars. Y'all could celebrate too, right? Not just the sun signs, but everybody celebrate. What's the vibe on this Tuesday for the collective? Ooh, because that's where we'll start. And we'll get a message from the goddesses, from the African Goddess Rising deck. What other message does the collective need to know? Yesterday's live is going up on the YouTube. Uploading now, so it should be available later on this afternoon or evening. Thank you for the gifts. And we'll get one from here. Ooh. They're just going everywhere. Please feel free, any thoughts, any questions that you're having, right, to put them down in the comments and we'll get back to it. The moderators are on deck to keep this a safe and sacred space. So we did say we're going to start here, right? The never-ending cycle, right? Things repeating itself, whether with the same person or different people showing up like the ex, showing up, treating you like your mother did or your father did, right? People really poking those inner child wounds that you're still holding on to, the inner child trauma that you are still holding on to. Today is a good day of reflection, right? Especially if you're in the energy of woe is me, why is this happening to me? Things like this are always happening. Why are people always treating me this way? Time is running out. First of all, time is not running out, right? Even though we have running behind it. You've been running from your healing, right? Some of you have managed to meet all your education goals, meet all your financial goals, but you struggle with relationships because there are some not past life, right? There's something that happened in your childhood that is reflected of the past life, right? The lifetimes you've incarnated on the earth with. Experiences that you've had growing up that shaped your vision of love, right? Some of us in the collective were really mistreated as a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 6-year-old. And some of you are like, who can mistreat a 6-year-old? Story time. And I'm pretty sure they wouldn't mind me sharing this with you. There's a divine masculine amongst us, right? You may or may not be on the live. We're not going to point him out unless he is here and wants to say, hey, right? Who shared his story. And I did ask at the time if I could share with the collective. And he said, whenever, it's up to you. So being that spirit has brought it forefront in hopes that it will help the collective, right? Because we don't just do things because, right? But the hope is it will help the collective understand just how early in life our views on love and relationships are created. So this is someone from the Caribbean, right? And when especially if you are either the first born Caribbean to be born in the States or the first in your family to come over from the States, right? They usually come over first, right? Get a good job, save up some money, and then they'll send for the kids, right? This is a tell as old as time throughout the Caribbean, whether you're from Haiti, Jamaica, Antigua, Trinidad, it's a lot. It's a lot of immigrants, Caribbean immigrants, this story. And I'm pretty sure other folks' story as well. So this person was left behind with their aunts who mistreated them because they weren't their natural born child. So they got to see their cousins eat first and they would eat the scraps, right? And then when the mom found out, she's in the States and they're in their country, so there's nothing she can do. So he gets sent to live with the father, who has taken up a new wife and has kids, and they're living a life. And instead of getting a bed or making a bed for you, right, for the divine masculine, they had him sleep on the floor while everybody else was comfortable. And yes, the stepmother was perfectly fine with mistreating him, right? And we're not going to even get into the disciplinary actions of the aunts and the stepmom. You notice the pattern with divine feminines in this person's life, right? Not stepping in and advocating for a small 6-year-old divine masculine in the making. So this idea of never being chosen, right? Never being treated well, right? Never being in a position where people showed you love. The people that were supposed to show you love, because in the very least, we think the ones that we call family, they're going to show us love regardless because we're family, especially when it comes from our parents. But him, like a lot of divine masculines, especially those born in the 70s, 80s, and early first half of the 90s, right, experienced very, very brutal childhoods, experiences that were masked as love. Oh, I'm doing this because I love you, right? I gotta BEAT some sense into you. How much sense does a 5-year-old have, a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, right? But constantly being faced with this, you're not good enough. You get treated worse than a dog in some cases because kids are really, really brilliant. A lot of times we underestimate just how much a child understands because they're small. They're little people. How could they possibly understand anything? They may not understand words and phrases the way that you and I do as adults, well, most of us, right? But all of us always understands energy. They weren't smiling and cooing at you, right, during the time of their infancy when they're able to do that. Because you're mom and they're happy to see mom, they're mirroring mom's energy and they like the vibe. So, of course, they're going to smile and coo. Do they have the mental faculties to have that thought process? Of course not. They're a baby, but they feel and they remember. And that energy gets stored until they have words for it. A lot of these older men, right, in their late 30s and upwards, right, mid 30s and upwards, who struggle with love, I can almost guarantee you they had a pretty shitty childhood where the women, the adults, the aunts, the older sisters, mom, grandma, stepmom, where the women, the adults, the aunts, the older sisters, mom, grandma, stepmom, right, dad's girlfriend or girlfriends, mistreated them in some type of way to the point where they got into their head that all feminine energies are going to mistreat them in some type of way. So some of them mistreat the feminine first, right, as an act to protect their heart and not have them in the feelings that remind them of their 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 6-year-old self. Some of them are so distraught over having a woman do to their children what their stepmom did to them, what their aunts did to them. But the fear is so great, they inadvertently manifest women that treat them the same way. It's not going to show up exactly verbatim, right? They're not going to make them, because in the Caribbean, the floor is concrete, right? They're not, or dirt. They're not going to make them sleep on the floor, right? But they'll do other things to elicit that same amount of pain and keep them trapped in that cycle. When we say your person, you guys get the personal readings, and we say your person has an inability to love, and you're like, a lot of people are like, but come on, they're 20, they're 30, they're 40, they're 60, they're 70. They should know better. True. And there goes the phone for confirmation. But you don't know better until you've been shown better so that you can do better. In the late 90s and the early 2000s, there was a great push on the mental health of children. We as a society finally understood that children do learn, do understand. They may not have the words like we have the words, but they feel, they remember, they know. They have a good idea of right from wrong innately. Us as adults, right? As caretakers, especially the caretakers, right? Our responsibility is to help develop that. And this is another reason why the masculine finds it hard to trust their intuition. And this is another reason why the masculine finds it hard to trust their intuition. A lot that happens between those developmental ages, right? The ages between 18 months and 7 years old truly shapes that individual to who they're going to be as an adult. When you see the playboy, right, or the playgirl who needs to have that roster, right, who only gives everybody bits and pieces of them because they know intuitively they're not going to, unless they go to therapy, they're not going to have the words for this because these happen when they didn't have the words for it. Are you making the connection, or did I lose you, right? They rather give pieces of themselves because they know if they give the whole of them to one person, they risk being devastated, being hurt, taking an L, being put in a place where they feel like they're not chosen, not respected, not loved. So rather than set themselves up for failure because so and so and so and so and so and so and so did it to them as a child, they stay in that playgirl, playboy energy until they know better. When we look at cases where there is sexual abuse, right? Switch the letters around, you know where I'm getting at. 99% of the abusers were abused as a child. And this is not something I Googled or saw on our lovely TikTok. This comes from my background in child counseling and development, right? My work around DV. This is not just something I read in a medical journal. This is something I got to see firsthand, right? How these folks relate to their own children, right? What history that they have. Coming back to you. It's very important. It's going to hurt. There's going to be some tears. There's going to be anger as to how could a parent, someone who's entrusted with God's greatest gift to mankind, right, do this, that, and the third? Who would do that to their child, right? Who would do that to a child who is innocent? And we have all these great words, but let's face it. There are monsters among us. They have always been monsters among us, and there will always be monsters among us. Whatever monster did, whatever they did to you, I am sorry. For the adults that didn't have the strength to apologize because you're just a kid, I am sorry. Let my words wrap around you like the softest hug that you yearned for and never got. It's the best that I can do. The rest is up to you to get past that adverse childhood experience. We all have an ACEs score. I encourage you all to look up your ACEs score, right? ACE, right? Adverse childhood experiences. Your ACEs score and its correlation to who you're predicted to be as an adult. This is not the woo-woo. This is straight scientific, clinical fact. Just because these situations happen as a child, as a preteen, right, as a young adult, doesn't mean it will define you for the rest of your life. If you found me, this is your opportunity to step into the light and work on your own healing rather than run from it. The time of running from your shadows is over. The time for running from that monster in the closet, the monster that's under the bed, it's over. Going back to yesterday's message about balancing the duality within, that's been your hang up for a lot of you, not for all of you, but for a lot of you. That's been the thing that has kept you in these cycles of attracting people that treat you like shit. But they're family. But that's my wife. But that's my boss, and I don't think anybody else will give me it. If you limit your thinking, you limit your life. This is not the 70s or the 80s where we are only limited to what's printed on the newspaper and the hearsay, the chisme we get from our neighbors. In this revolutionary age of the World Wide Web where information's at your fingertips, tell me, what is your excuse for not working on the healing? What is your excuse for having this scarcity mindset still? Yeah, I know, because we've all heard it, right? It either happened to us or somebody close to us. Where we want to go McDonald's, because everybody's going to McDonald's, right? At 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, you don't know that food is crap. You just know that it's yummy, right? And what do a lot of folks hear, right? Especially if you were from the inner city or a lower socioeconomic class, right? Do you have McDonald's money? So now you pinch all your pennies like money doesn't grow on trees. Money literally is made of paper, and paper comes from trees. And no matter what the Wall Street Journal and the stock market and are doing, they ain't got nothing to do with you. Abundance is your birthright. That's not some catchy TikTok phrase to make you feel good. Yeah, abundance is my birthright. That's exactly what it's supposed to be. The birds don't want for nothing. The trees and the flowers and the bees and the sparrows and the whales and those weird deep sea creatures, they don't want for nothing. Everything is provided for in abundance, right? Think about it. Especially those of you who are entering your Saturn return or just completed your Saturn return, right? Until you work on those healings, until you work on the hang-ups, you will continue to attract shitty situations. You will continue to attract shitty experiences, not because the universe wants to punish you, but because you're staying in this vibration and like attracts like. So if you're in Eeyore's energy, you're going to attract Eeyore experience. If you are in Tigger's energy, you're going to attract Tigger experiences. And if you're in the Winnie the Pooh energy, right? Who gives a zero? You know what I was going to say next, right? Then you'll be in that energy. Water seeks its own level. At this stage of the game, with all the information you've been inundated with all of the signs, especially if you've been seeing 333, right? Your guides have been telling you to do the work. Get over the past. Your past doesn't define you. Stop wearing it like a heavy book bag. When Spirit talks about the things you're not meant to carry, that's exactly what they're talking about. Wealthy man, of course, wealthy man is in reverse, right? Back to that 3, right? And 21, which is 3, right? Because you're in the scarcity mindset. Oh, the dating pool has P in it, right? Especially in Atlanta, right? Did you hear about the numbers of folks who have a house in Virginia, in Philly, and Texas, right? Because you guys heard about the testing in the hundreds of thousands, right? But what does that have to do with you? You're concerned with things as if they're impossible for you to change when you're created in the image of the one who makes all things possible. Make it make sense. I can tell where your doubt, where your fears, where your worries came from, and it's perfectly, perfectly normal. That was part of the journey. The healing is part of the journey, but you got to get to the healing. No more can you allow yourself to suffer, right? Because you're delaying your harvest. You're delaying, make sure that's TikTok safe, right? You're happily ever after. The whole universe is conspiring to help you win. You're wondering why you keep staying in these cycles and attracting the same type of people. It's the consequences of not healing your adverse childhood experiences, certain things you're never going to forget, right? We all have that mark, right, that we picked up doing something we should have been doing as a kid that stays with us forever. This is a burn I got um, being a second grader, right? And it's always going to be here. You can barely see it now, right? I'm always going to see this. I'm going to, I remember the burn, right? Even if I did surgery to remove it, there would be some type of scarring left to always remind me that I got a burn in the second grade while doing my homework, right? At the kitchen table. Nothing is going to remove that memory. However, that burn, that hurt, that pain, right? As we look at her battered and bruised, doesn't have to define you, right? And I did this to myself on accident, right? But there's a lot of you who carry both physical scars and emotional scars that were put on you on purpose. It doesn't define you. However, if you keep holding on to it by not forgiving, by not releasing, by not working through that hurt, now you're hurting yourself. And that's usually a hard truth for folks to swallow. But it's something that spirit has to be honest with you about. So when you sit there in those moments, where was God when XYZ happened? Valid question, right? Where were you? Where were your thoughts, right? What are you going to do now that this thing happened? Live in that energy perpetually until you take your last breath? That is not your destiny. Again, I apologize for the adult that wronged you. But now you're at the age, at the stage of your journey where holding on to these memories are going to keep you trapped in cycles, keep you in the energy of emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually hurting yourself, right? With this thinker card in 44, which is the mark of the angels, the mark of that foundation, as this fairy is sitting on a block. Be real with yourself. Maybe now it's time to go into therapy. Like really go into therapy, right? Maybe now is a time that you get a spiritual mentor, right? You spend time with the priest or the deacon or the deaconess or the prophetess, right? Or me, right? You spend time with a trusted, objective figure who has the emotional, educational, spiritual skills to help you process those feelings you've been holding on to for way too long. Rejected, left alone, self-inflicted. Now the messages are repeating itself. Now the messages are repeating itself. It's not going to be easy, baby. It's not going to be easy. But as long as you commit to the healing, fully commit to the healing, tears and all, anger, rage and all, the angels are right on your side. To the left, to the right, to the windows, to the wall, right? Helping you process this pain, helping you find your why, helping you understand. Spirit told us yesterday that we need to go into a period of isolation to understand how to prepare for the next leg of our journey, the next chapter of our journey, how to become more aligned with our intuition, because look at that, right? With that 8 and 11, right? And now that 7 and 11, you know what this is, the sudden wealth, the jackpot, which tells me the minute you change right? And you don't even have to be fully healed. The minute you commit to rewriting your story is the minute that sudden wealth comes in, that sudden miracle comes in, that sudden blessing comes in. The minute you reclaim your power, because we talked about that yesterday, right? You reclaim your energy is when everything shifts and changes for you for the better, right? This Queen Nandi is not sitting, energetically speaking, right, for the purpose of this reading, is not sitting with her child. She is sitting with the version of herself that was mishandled as a child and being the adult that she needed. A lot of you who do the most for your children, we love that, right? Often do it from a space of wanting your kids not to experience what you experience, being the parent to your kids that your parent couldn't be to you. We applaud that. We love that because that's part of the healing, right? But it's also important to be the parent to yourself that you needed to help you along your journey, right? To help you mature. Finally, right? And call judgment back to 3, right? And it's crossing, not for you, blocked. And this is liberation, right? Which came out in reverse. So it's like you got blocked twice. You really have to sit there, put your big girl, your big boy boots on, right? Think about, and now we have that 333, all of the healing that you need to do and make a firm plan to get it done. Make a firm plan to work through it. Make a firm plan to move on until you change, and not just the outer, but the inner as well. Until you change, nothing will change, and you will stay in this never-ending story. Speaking of the never-ending story, right, from the late 80s, which happens to be one of my favorite movies, right? Fascinated with it as a child, still fascinated with it as an adult, right? Wasn't the end not the end, but the beginning of a rebirth of a nation? When the character from the story he was reading lost it all, he had to rename her in order for her to rebuild her nation. Something like that. And what name did he give her before she turned into nothing? Moonchild. What name are you going to give your inner child? Your former child self? Give a cute name, a fitting name, right? Moonchild, we could call Diana, Artemis, right? Other deities associated with the moon. Cynthia, right? Or something associated with the sun, right? But a lot of you with the Scorpio full moon, that moment of destruction, because Scorpio rules the 8th house, house of death and rebirth. Take a moment to rename yourself and end that never-ending story. Create a new script for yourself. And then, it doesn't even have to manifest yet. Just your thought, just your willingness, just your shift in energy shifts everything, right? Because when you're playing slots and the number comes up, it's bang, 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 right? As these numbers come up, you're like, oh my God, right? I hit the lucky sevens. Things are going to change for you, yes, just that quickly. Bang, 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 right? The minute you change your energetic signature, the minute you sit with that injured, hurt version, child version, your 2-year-old self, your 3-year-old self, your 17-year-old self, right? And be that parent, that adult that you needed for you. That's part of pulling yourself up by the bootstraps. That's part of how you're going to manifest your dreams into your reality, how you're going to become this mature man or woman. Maturity is not about ages, even though gray hair is a symbol of wisdom, right? That's your signature that you are an elder. Whether you catch your gray hairs at 19 or 90, right? You are an elder. Your life experience gives you the wisdom to carry that title, right? Age doesn't make you mature, right? That comes from how you take life, how you balance your emotions, how you establish and maintain those boundaries, your give and take, your ability to forgive and release. Those of you who have been struggling with manifesting, chances are the thing that is holding you back are the pains, whether you picked them up in childhood or elsewhere, the wounds, the trauma that you're still holding on to. Let this be your battle cry to let it go. That is your message while we see why the phone is so busy and what you guys are saying in the comments. See, Lokat called it. Called it. You are an elder. You are an elder. I knew it was the time that you're an elder. You are an elder. Hi, Georgia girl. How are you? ATM a divine. How was the graduation? How is the little big person? Because they're still a little, but they're a whole young adult in the making. Orion's Pulse. Wealthy rising indeed. Thank you guys. It is my favorite. Volcor. Now I'm going to have to watch the movie. Yes, he's one of my favorites too. It is the best movie ever. Right? Hey, Marcy. Marcy. Empress Honey. Hello. No Cool. Hello. Boogie Woogie. Hello. Natural Goddess. Hello. So you missed a lot. We're going to put this reading up because I didn't expect so much to come out about, the adverse childhood experiences. Like, that's somebody, at least one of you, because Spirit will use the one of yous to set an example for the all of yous. Because some of you need to take that message, right, about aces to your nearest and dearest, to a friend of yours, to your partner. Thank you for the follows. Honeybee, how are you? Hey, Vanessa. How are you, Jackie? Oh, Gemini's in the house. So we have Georgia Girl. Hey, Robeson, and I think Margie. Oh, nope, we have Georgia Girl and then Margie. Okay. All right. Is that Morris? Hey, Morris. Hey, Sandra. All right. Miss Nicole, it's okay. It's okay. Right. Georgia Girl to the front of the line. Did you want a general message or do you have a specific question? If no one signs up by the time we get to Margie's reading, then we're going to close the list and start to wrap up the live with any general questions you guys have. And Miss Nicole, you will be after Margie. And of course, I sat down without my pen and paper. Yesterday, I was so good and I sat down with my pen and paper. So we have Georgia Girl, Margie, and then Miss Nicole. Georgia Girl wants a general message. So, we'll do the feminines. We'll get a message from the divine goddesses for our lovely Georgia Girl. So we're going to shift the energy, hey, new heart, to Georgia Girl. There's a lot of interference on the live again as I look up and see 111. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Holy Spirit, what message does Georgia Girl, aka, needs to know at this moment? The thing of it is, you made a decision and you went back, right? You reneged on your word. I can't say reneged on your word. You changed your mind about how you show up in digital spaces. We're going to keep it cute and in a way that you get what your guys are trying to say, right? Be very mindful on how you show up everywhere, but on digital spaces as well. Anyone who's on a journey of really putting in the work of getting closer to Source, getting closer to God, getting closer to the Most High, right? Your light, because you're not the only one going through this, right? Where your light is shining brighter and brighter and brighter. But when your light is shining brighter and brighter and brighter, guess what happens? You attract the moths. You attract the undesirables, right? You attract the monsters, so to speak. There's no way for you to tuck in your light because light is light. Like the sun is shining. There's no way for me to hide that. Even if I closed the blinds, the drapes, right? You guys would know that it's still daytime. There is no way to hide the light. But your light has become way more juicier than it has been over the past 2 months. The level of aha moments and awakening moments and the fact that you just want to bloom, like your soul has been waiting for this moment. You're just growing by leaps and bounds in spirit. So the undesirables, right? They see that. And it makes you, not to say so much a target, make it a practice that anything you're doing, right? Whether you're appearing to do a public speaking event, you're going to a cafe, however you're presenting yourself in public and on digital spaces, because that's going to be a bigger part of your journey at some point. Always make sure you pray and you cover yourself. Holy Spirit, that being said, right? What message do you have for Georgia Girl, aka? Thank you. Anything else? Oh, there's 2. We gotta pull these because this deck is it's a little spicy. Oh. You have Anansi, which is 20, and scarcity, right? betrayal and scarcity. 2021, right? What was going on in 2021? This is a representation of the cycle that you're leaving behind, right? Aunt Nancy or Anansi, right, from folklore traditions, right? I can't remember exactly which African folklore tradition, right? Known as a trickster, right? The the fact that your light is shining so bright now, you can know you're coming into a space that others can no longer deceive you, right? In business, in friendship, right? In all aspects of your life. You're seeing things clearly, and the things that held you back with all of these cobwebs they're showing, right, are not holding you back anymore. Another confirmation that you've done yourself to move, to elevate, to ascend to that next level of being on your journey, to taking your place in the sun as it is destined for you to take your place in the sun. You ain't never known jealousy like the jealousy that's going to come down the line, right? We spoke about in the general how the minute you make those mental, emotional changes, how everything starts to change in your world. Everything starts to change in your world, right? The small changes you've seen since like Easter, since the beginning of the year, really, right? It's been a little bit of ups and downs and ups and downs. It feels like you're on an up right now. It's only going to get better. You know this, right? And because it's going to get better, because look at that, with that 26, which is 8, and 35, which is 8, you've been walking in your calling. You've been walking in your destiny. You've been doing, sometimes with tears in your eyes. That's okay, right? You don't lose any points for that, right? Sometimes a little slow, and that's okay too. You don't lose any points for that. The commitment to your healing, to your growth, to walking in the word, to having your own connection with God is going to open all the doors and clear all the paths, but you gotta. They're stressing this. The word is italicized, capitalized, highlighted, sparkles all around it. You gotta protect yourself. You gotta make sure you cover your head, anoint your head every morning, anoint the heads of your children, right? Even if you can't physically do it, anoint them in prayer, right? And continue practicing gratitude every single night. Those dreams and visions are soon to be your reality. Very, very soon to be your reality. You just need to keep doing what you're doing. And for the umpteenth time, stay prayed up. You're manifesting destiny. You're energetically in alignment with everything you're supposed to be doing. Just keep going and pay attention to that first nod, that first intuitive something that tells you either to do something or not to do something, right? And don't renege on it, right? Even if everybody else seems like they have beef with what you chose to do, or feels like it may or may not do the right thing, that first inclination, that first boom, this is what it is, until the Holy Spirit taps you and say, okay, let's shift things. Okay, let's change things, right? Those two minds are becoming one. So get really, really comfortable with taking your first instinct, your first intuitive nudge as truth. Can it change? Sure. Will it change? Maybe down the line. But your guides, the angels, really want you to get good at hearing your intuition, hearing the voice of spirit versus hearing the voice of doubt, because that doubt during the summer is going to be really loud and obnoxious. You're technically too far for them to touch unless you sink backwards into the level that you just got out of. That is your message. No sinking back. No backsliding. You could take a rest, right? Take a nap, have a Snickers, right? have a moment to unplug, uncharge, recharge, uncharge, uncharge, right? Which is really not a word, but it's the energy of just letting it get depleted till it possibly can't get depleted anymore, and then give it a fresh charge. It's okay. Don't give up. Don't give up. Okay, so we said Georgia girl, Margie, and then Margie to the front of the line. Margie. Empress Honey, you still here? Are you still around? Actually, I have hands galore. Okay. All right. Margie, Miss Nicole, ATM Divine, ATM Divine, and then we have Isolt. And I feel like I'm missing someone. So y'all keep me honest, please. I have, in the following order, Margie, then Miss Nicole, ATM Divine, and then Isolt Beauty. If I missed you, I'm so sorry. We're gonna definitely try to get you in before we wrap up the live. As an honorary mention is Empress here in Punta Cana. Hey, be careful. Oh, Empress, honey, where's she at? If one of the moderators can be a dear, if at all possible, go find honey for me, please. Please, 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 please. If you cannot, like, don't stress yourself over it. If you can't, I'll find her after the live. I'll find her after the live. Margie, did you have a specific question or did you want a general? Okay. We're shifting the energy. To the lovely, oh, that was loud. Sorry. Shifting the energy to Margie. I don't know why these sound a little bit louder than usual. Or were they always this loud? I don't know. Holy Spirit, what message do you have? Thank you for the lovely Margie. We have, because we gotta, okay. Gotta make sure, right? They're TikTok safe, because some of these, they're very spicy. Truth and Desire. Nunde and Ngame. Ooh. 34, which is 7. The number of the divine, number of God, right? The 7th letter is G, and G is God, right? 7 colors of the rainbow, 7 notes in the scale, 7 C's, right? We could go on and 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 on about the magnificent number of 7. But you notice this fiery, fury, fiery, furious energy, right? That volcano looming in the background. And she seems totally unbothered, wrapped in red. Lady in red, right? That comment in the DMs, that conversation, yeah, that's part of this confirmation that you're receiving right here. All year, your guides, the angels, have been giving you your hardest truths. Because you've taken the time to self-reflect and really sit, because this person, right, when we look really carefully, they are unbothered, they're in a rush to do nothing, they're just sitting, understanding, head down. This is a confirmation, head down. You said it yourself, right? This confirms the need to just keep focused on your goals. Your guides are going to continue, because you notice where she's at is the fire. But in reflection, it's the fertility, it's the lush forest, right? That's what you're manifesting. A period of rebirth, renewal, right? We talk about how how forests can start, how a forest can start its own fire and why it does that, right? And it clears its own land to welcome in the new. You are welcoming the new, right? Keep doing what you've been doing. Keep following your intuition. Keep aiming for your goals. The whole universe is behind you, right? And the fire is behind you, right? Spend time by the water, any body of water. It would be a good time to plan a trip to the beach, right? But how feasible is that, right? For you. It would be a good time to get yourself to the Caribbean Sea within the next 3 or 4 months or so, right? Because some of your guides are associated with the water. We talked about a couple of weeks ago, that message came out about the primordial water spirits and the messages that they had for us, right? The angels that dwell in the water and the messages that they had for us. There's literally the need for you to go to a body of water. A stream or a lake will do, right? Considering your geographic location, but they want you on the coast. They want you at somebody's beach, preferably on the outside of the United States, preferably within the next 3-4 months. But Spirit also knows that, getting up, having to get up and go is one thing. Having the means, the energy to get up and go is another thing. With that bow and arrow, right? Ochozi energy, keeping focused on the plan is your confirmation to keep focused on the plan, right? You notice how both figures, all they have are the spirits, the universe, the angels, the Most High. That's all they have. And that's all you need. Once everything is in place, once everything is rolling, the destiny helpers, the soul tribe, the family you need to support you will show up. Right now, they just need you to continue showing up for you as you go through this cycle, right? Going from 7 and 8, right? You're another one going through a cycle. Keep doing what you've been doing. That's it. That's it. You're going to continue to see people's true colors. The truth is still going to be revealed to you in different areas of your life, right? Take it for what it is. Process the information for what it is. Compartmentalize, right? And move on. Process any feelings, right? Because we're not just stuffing things in the closet or under the bed to be dealt with later. Process feelings and emotions as they come up and then move on to the next assignment. That is your message. That's it. That's all. Hi, Dominique. How are you? How are you? How are you? How are you? All I see, Margie, is yes, yes, yes. And I love that for you. Hey, Godness. How are you? The lovely songstress. How are you? All right. Miss Nicole. Miss Nicole. To the front of the line, please and thank you. Do you have a general message? If we haven't found Empress Honey, it's okay. I'll find her after the live. Hey, Miss Nicole. Would you like a general reading or did you have a specific question? Hello, Shell. You are hanging on by a string. Are you really? Or it just feels that way, right? Here's the thing. I feel like Spirit says that way too often, but because of your geographic location. Okay. Take a moment to breathe. In through your nose, out through your lips. Breathe very deeply, pulling the energy from deep within your torso. Go deeper than that, right? Go down to that first chakra that we went on and on about yesterday, right? That sacral energy, and start pulling the energy up through your chakras, right? To calm some of that anxiety. If you still, you're too jittery to do that, press on your Cupid's bow, right? That area between your top lip and just beneath the bridge of the bridge. Do we call that the bridge? That space between your nostrils, that area, those two lines, that's your Cupid's bow, right? Press on that and just breathe. When you are in a geographic location that has natural frenetic energy, because it's just the vibe of that area, everything that is sent your way in spirit gets magnified, right? Exponentially, because do we really have to go to the physics of how, a body in motion picks up the snowball effect, right? If you throw a snowball down a snowy slope, it picks up more snow, right? Even though the original intention was this tiny, tiny ball that turned into a huge avalanche. Where you are is a huge avalanche of chaos, destruction, the other 5-letter D word that I don't feel like saying, right? Jealousy, right? So you have all this energy being projected to everybody, right? There is in a very dense geographic location. It's energetically dense, physically dense with structures, and physically dense with actual people, with the majority of the people being carrying more dark signature than light signature. So as you come along with your bright, bubbly energy, right? The energy of being untouchable, because you are, may not feel like that right now, but you are. The energy you're feeling now is the ripple effect of what you did back in late March, mid-March, St. Nick. Yeah. When we step up and, let that little light be like, here I am, this is what I'm going to be doing, and you're surrounded, you're in a melting pot of savages and monsters. Not, You now not only have to deal with your ops, your known enemies, right? You've now picked up a whole energetic signature of people trying to hone in on where's she at, right? Searching for righteousness within yourself has upset the balance of negative energy within your community. Oftentimes, we really don't get into how one person doing the work on themselves can affect anybody, everybody, and anybody around them. It just does, right? It's energy. It's not neither created nor destroyed, right? As you're pulling in that good light, as you're pulling in what you need to elevate yourself and your loved ones, there are other energies around you that are like, wait a minute, the fuck is this? Something wicked, but in your case, something beautiful this way comes, right? There's a disturbance in the palace, and you've got a lot of bubbles around you. You know, when you see that Life 360 map and you can see the bubbles of everybody, right? This is what your energy is showing up as. A lot of what you've been feeling and the anxiety and I don't want to do this no more. That's coming from a place of being bombarded with the energy of people trying to find who you are. Perfect strangers trying to find out who you are, that you've been able to upset the energy. This is why you were specifically told it was time for you to skedaddle. Make it happen one way or another, right? Because you're literally in the dragon's lair, standing by the mouth of the dragon itself. You have all the tools and ability and the wherewithal to slay the dragon. But if we could avoid getting our hands dirty, then that's what we'll do. This is a good time to schedule a vacation, a getaway, not just for like a weekend, 2 weeks. So you can pull back from this energy and get back to your complete self. The reason why Spirit pointed out that to do the deep breathing and take it all the way down, deep down within your sacral energy, that first chakral energy. Take it straight from the energy of your pum pum and bring it all the way up to help you clean and clear all of those chakras, because they're sending daggers directly there. Known and unknown enemies are sending daggers directly there. Not just to mess with fertility and family, that stuff gets affected, but primarily to mess with your ability to create. To birth those dreams into your reality. The good news is it wouldn't feel this bad, right? If something really, really good wasn't about to happen, if that big breakthrough wasn't about to happen, that dream, that vision that you're like, yeah, I need to do this because it's going to help me do this and I can retire from that, that cannot happen. Like that may even need to be put on pause until you can shift your physical location, because it's going to add a lot of unnecessary negative weight to the wagon that you're building. They're showing me you leaving like a thief in the night, just disappearing, right? If you got to fight the dragon, you got to fight the dragon, right? But if you could disappear before that dragon wake up, disappear. Holy Spirit, what message do you have for Miss Nicole, aka? Not a time to even worry about the relationship. You already said that. You already put out your word that this is what I want. This is what it's going to be. This is how I'm moving. And move. Do what needs to be done. Right? The universe supports you. God supports you, of course. The angels support you. The divine supports you. Process those feelings that are coming up. Process the frenetic energy that's coming up. Take heed to when, well, this is something you've always been doing, but make sure you double down. Like when you leave in the morning, looking back at the door, making sure that, there's nothing weird there, right? Especially a penny, right? Amongst other things. As you're walking to your car, making sure that it's the same way that you left it and there's nothing weird around, right? It's the 44, 35, 8 destiny. This is all about step 1, getting the hell up out of Dodge. Your relationship feels fine, but this is also a source of attack. Don't forget, one little person being like, why her, can cause that snowball effect, right? This summer, I don't even know how you're going to pull this off, but they want you to get out. They're screaming at the top of their lungs, get out. Get out, get out, get out, get out, get out, get out, get out. Get out. Part of it is the same reason why the tri-state area was given the heads up that if you don't really got to be in the city, you don't really have to be around crowds. Like, it's not your job. Try to refrain from going around crowds. There's a lot of chaotic, destructive energy, and you've been pinned, you've been identified as someone who can disrupt that energy. That's legit not on your list of things to do. You're trying to help yourself and your loved ones, right? But because of that light that you carry, because of you being so determined, you have pissed off a lot of other entities that feast on the darkness that exists in that area. That is your message. I said that this morning. I need to move right now. Right now. Shit. They may even put you in a position where you have no choice but to leave with the clothes on your back. You'll have no choice but to leave with just the clothes on your back. Good. You haven't been worrying about that. Good, good, good. Hey, Lex, how are you? Lots of back pain. Yeah. You're going to feel it in your physical. They're attacking you emotionally, mentally, and that always pops up in the physical as these weird pains that could be normal, right? But typically aren't. Even the sensation of the pain itself, it's different than when you typically get pain in that area, right? They are coming for you. Full metal jackets. And you're not doing anything wrong. You're not doing anything wrong. It's because you're doing everything right. If you were doing something wrong, and a lot of times, folks on the spiritual journey, they get things backwards because they're giving things backwards. So people just look at you like, they're no bother. But you're hitting the mark every single time. You don't miss, whether you're standing right underneath the basket or from halfway across the court. It goes in every single time. It doesn't even touch the rim. It's all net. I don't know why they're making a basketball reference, but they're saying it's because of that. You pissed off. Strangers got beef with you. They don't even know you by face. They only know you by energy. So how can we make that happen, right? Because it feels like your guides, you either figure it out or they're going to figure it out for you. And if they figure it out for you, it's going to be challenging. Because again, it's that energy of leaving in the middle of the night with just the clothes on your back. ATM, a divine. What time is it? 1:45? 1:45. I threw, well, that explains it, right? I threw my mini basketball and unintentionally made the basket. All net, right? No rim or nothing, just straight swoosh. That is too cute. Your baby basketball. We will definitely talk. I'm looking forward to this conversation and the game plan because what? Jeez. Divine, did you have a specific question? Or would you like a general message? You're off tomorrow. Oh, it's prom. Oh, we love prom. We love prom. Just general. Okay. Did you get my email, Divine? This would have to be a while ago. A while ago. Do I remember what exactly was written in the email? No. All I remember is that it was filled with lots of information and lots of shit. I'm just going to go out and say it because the position you are in now, along, we're just talking about everybody's spiritual journey, and spirit is putting everybody's business out in the streets, right? No one's safe. No one's safe. And you know what? I'm going to let them tell you. I'm going to let them tell you before we get into the business. Holy Spirit, what message do you have for AKA? What message do you have? Thank you. What's the vibe for our lovely divine? Thank you. And you know what? Get the goddesses too, because why not? And then last we'll have Iseult. Divine goddesses, Holy Spirit, what message do you have for? Thank you. Okay. You have the Six of Swords, which typically talks about moving into calmer, stiller waters, right? After a time of rough waters, right? Ace of Wands talks about change, especially after having that tower moment, but it's in the reverse along with the Eight of Swords, right? Gemini, Libra, Aquarius energy. The energy of moving forward under false pretense. The biggest thing now that I lean into the energy of that email is that reason why they said that, and they've been trying to give you the intuitive guidance about this, is that whether intentionally or unintentionally, your energy is now tied. You are not, your sovereignty, your individualism is non existent. And I'm not sure, because they're not sure, because they keep showing me a question mark, right? If this is by choice or being led under false pretenses. While things are moving forward with the things you set out to clear and fix towards the last year, right? With the last set of eclipses, like those plans you had around the end of September. See how the words are getting choppy? The beginning of October. Those plans that you had and you was like, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna go do that, and you put on your Wonder Woman cape and you had your lasso of truth. Where did it go? Where's your lasso of truth? Where's your discernment? Because somewhere along the line between the two eclipses, between the ones in September and October and the ones in March, you gave away your power, knowingly or unknowingly, which why they said what they said in that email, right? This divine lineage of yours with that six and that six again. And you know what six is the number of, right? Do we really need to go there, right? Either inadvertently or inadvertently has been tampered with. Your purpose, I should say, has been tampered with. You are being shown as, they're saying used. I don't want to use that word, right? Especially since they haven't clarified whether you got into this agreement intentionally or intentionally. But your energy is being siphoned to further the agenda of somebody else for their own personal gain, maxed as a 2-for-1 special. Yeah, I said it. Your energy has been siphoned, either intentionally or unintentionally by you, unknowingly agreed to something that your guides would have preferred you not agree to. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't serve your highest good. It looks like it would serve your highest good and bring you those changes, right? And free you, but essentially leaving one trap for another. Not jumping in, not leaving the pot and jumping into the fire, just jumping from one pot to another when you were never meant to be put in a pot to begin with. Certain whispers has been given to you of what bridge you need to burn, but it's so quiet, so still that you dismiss it because why? Why would I do that, right? So you energetically at least dismiss that small voice because it's so quiet. It's so very quiet. Your guides are asking you that you lean into it more. Hear what needs to be said. You're following your own intuition. You're having dreams, but you still haven't seen the full picture of everyone and everything that needs to be cut off. There is still, let's pull one from here too. Someone siphoning their energy, siphoning your energy, right? It's like someone has run a line from your house to their house, right? So they don't have to pay an electricity bill. They could just use yours. And you're like, okay. Someone who knows that you doing the work, right? And freeing yourself of the people, places, and things you said you were going to free yourself with, right? Last fall, and actually doing it, right? And manifesting and magnetizing the destiny helpers and experiences to help you, that you're going to manifest a very, very bright new beginning with this regeneration card, right? So they figured if they hitched their wagon to yours, you know, they could benefit from your happily ever after too. And again, whether you've done this willingly or unwillingly, that's on you. No judgment, right? No shade, right? But really think about the long-term effects of allowing somebody else to use your energy, your electricity. Everything has its short-term benefits, but in the long term, it's going to cost you big. Review that list, especially where you say, oh no, they probably couldn't, they're not talking about this. They're talking about that. That small. Say, huh? I need you to talk a little louder. And they're going to tell them to talk a little louder. And then it will be clear. There's a lot that they want to say to you, but they can't say it to you in public places because to the wrong ear is going to hear, which will cause the information not to be received in the way that it is intended. Be mindful. Be mindful. Be mindful of the wolf in sheep's clothing. That is your message. Iseult. There you go. Did you have a specific question? No, you have a specific question. Let me pull up your question and let me just go through the comments real quick. Zillis. That's what it feels like. They are disgusting, right? 'Cause get your own energy. Go pay the electric man. Favorite fit, what is going on? What is going on? What is going on? Time now is 1:57. Everybody got an electric man, right? In New York, we call it Con Edison or LIPA. Who's your electric person? All right, the reading list is closed. We're going to get into, or in the very least, okay. You know, not everybody can afford to get the lights turned on. We get that. But get some candles. Don't do that, right? Figure it out. All right. Iseult. General, but you feel like you're missing something. What are you missing? Let's go to the divine goddesses. Wait, nope. What was that? No. That was sent in Arabu. That was definitely sent in error. How do I unsend? No send. We no send. Hey, Kat. How are you? Whimsical is here. So many people here that I didn't get a chance to say hi to. Well, hello, everybody. Hello. All right. We're going to do the last reading. If you'd like a personal reading, that information's in the bio. Thank you, everyone, for spending this part of your day with Spirit, the Soul Tribe, and me. Email it to me, Favorite Fit. Do I have it? Yeah, the link should be in my profile at the top. It should be. If not, it's at the bottom of my webpage, the link to my email. Or, so silly me, at henriettestreams.com. Email it to me. Iseult. What does Iseult need to know in this? See, we were doing so good. We were doing so good. We're gonna just cover her up, right? What does Iseult? What else does Iseult need to know? Holy Spirit. Just 20. Thank you. Make it nice and clear and plain. Thank you, Figure It Fit. What does Iseult, aka, need to know at this moment? You feel like you're missing something. Wounded healer. We're not gonna. Well, can we pick her up? You guys know this card, right? Oop, damn it. Her melons are out, right? But she stands at the pillars. It's a segment, right? Like the high priestess. Like the high priestess. How much work? Let's hold hands while we talk about this. How much work have you been doing when it comes to your spiritual enlightenment, growing your spiritual gifts, getting closer to source, getting closer to the divine, walking with the Most High, like bypassing all the fluff and going directly to source? Because that's what's missing. We are given the grace of being bombarded with signs, right? Raise your hand if your journey started around the time you kept seeing numbers and you're like, Google, why am I seeing 111 all the time? Why am I seeing my birthday all the time, right? And you went down the slippery slope of angel numbers, and angel numbers led you to readings, and readings led you to guidance, and this whole new world started to unfold. And that's typically, give or take some steps, how it goes. You get a sign, right? When you're ready to establish that connection with Source, it's your job to follow the steps that you're given to step into your purpose, right? When we're called into the light, it's not just to have this amazing relationship with Source and increase our own personal power and our bippity boppity boo for ourselves and our own happiness. It's more than that. We also have a responsibility to take what God shows us and help teach others. And that's why a lot of us are in professions where we're teachers, right? We're counselors, we're hairdressers, we're barbers. We work in a community in such a way, not so much mental health providers, because once you put that title, mental health provider, on it, people are like, oh my God, I don't need to go see a psychiatrist. I'm not crazy. But they'll tell their barber everything. They'll tell their wax lady everything, right? And some of these individuals, a lot of these individuals in those professions where people wind up pouring out their hearts, it's because you're supposed to minister counsel to that individual in that space. Spirit is very big at meeting people where they are. Someone on their healing journey may not be ready for full-on therapy, right? Ready to roll up their sleeves and do EMDR, right? They're not ready to even say, I am going to therapy. For some people, that is scary. However, they will and are open to speaking to a service provider like their barber or their hairstylist or their braider, right? Sometimes even their nurse. That's something that you feel like, I should be doing something, getting closer to source so that your wisdom, your knowledge, your preparation, right, can get grounded. Because right now, with this shine coming out in the reverse, you are ungrounded. Around Capricorn season, they have beautiful plans for you, but it requires you to walk on your journey with this Erzeli Dantor, right? To start doing what you need to be doing. Then we could get into love, into finances, and the particulars of life. But the biggest thing right now is establishing that connection with Source. No more resting or be like, oh, get to it. And, I'm too tired to pray. Even if the prayer is just, I'm so thankful for ... That's your starting point. That's something. It's time to get a structure, a regimen, right? Get yourself a planner, a notebook, something, right? That you're going to do this every morning, you're going to do that every evening. Commit to growing and getting closer to God in one way or another. That hole can only be filled through closeness to him. Because that hole is not something small. It's the space between you and your happily ever after. It's the space between you and your destiny. And that hole can grow into a chasm, right? It can grow into a pit, right? Which is so much harder to get out of, right? The further you delay answering the call of the angels. Yes, we have free will, supposedly. But when they call and you've got the signs and you start, hey, what's this? There's no stop button. And there's truly no pause button. There's a rest button. But you got to keep going right now. Everything is delayed. Everything is stuck because you have to walk in the light. You have to get closer to source. You have to do what needs to be done. No more putting it off to the side. And you don't have to do it. They don't want you to do it like everybody else is doing it, or how you were taught it should be done. Go within and allow your intuition to guide you on how He, the Most High, wants you to establish that connection with Him. Oftentimes, right? Because I'm pretty sure if we went around the room, right? Most of us came from some type of structured religion, right? Where we're taught we shouldn't do this and this is wicked and that's not, and you listen to this and you listen to that. And we've learned that a lot of the people who stand at the pulpits are hypocrites. This is why we're encouraged to always get a little bit of information. You're always going to need someone to help you start, right? Help guide you along the way. But at the end of the day, it's your intuition. We talk about how, or we spoke about on a couple of occasions, how children naturally have different relationships. Even if you have a set of twins, each twin will relate to you in a different way. That's just part of their personality, right? They will report having a different experience with you. And not to say it's good or bad, it's just how they perceive things. It's just how it goes. It's the same way that all of us have our own relationship with God, whether we call him God, Source, the universe, Allah, Jireh, Jehovah, whatever, right? That omnipotent source that knows all things, sees all things, hears all things, right? This is not the 70s anymore. This is not the 80s where we were giving. This is not Jonestown, Guyana. Can we talk about that? Maybe not today, right? This is not those types of situations where we're told this is the truth, the irrefutable truth. And because we don't have access to information, we're like, oh, okay. But now when somebody says this is the truth, we're like, hold that thought, right? And before we can even say hold that thought, we pull up TikTok and we start seeing videos about that, whatever topic was discussed, right? And then the truth is made plain. What's that verse in Luke? Is it Luke? Yeah, 22? Maybe. That talks about the truth being revealed. We are in the era of the truth and religion being revealed. Whether you practice Catholicism, Judaism, Islam, whatever, no longer can the lies be passed off as truth. And then to add more juice to it, we have AI telling us, yeah, according to this, right? This is what really happened. Right? We can't sugarcoat things anymore. Even if we delete them out of the archives, where we're at as a society, it's become much, way too easy to establish that connection with Source. Way too easy to use our words, right? To remember who we are, to remember whose child we are and whose image we were made in, right? For us to be bamboozled any longer. that is your message. Well, hello, E. The reading list is closed for today, but I'm not quite sure how I feel about this, but I think I like the vibe of doing the readings like this for you guys. So we might do this again tomorrow. We might. We'll see, right? We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Hi, Cindy. How are you? So the reading list is closed. I am struggling to let go of the organized religion part. Good. Good. You have identified the problem. What's the plan to get past it? Seriously asking, right? And you may not even have the answer to that right now. That's also good, right? Think about it. Organized religion was established so that the way showers would be disempowered, right, from doing what needs to be done, which is reestablishing what we call the norm. When we talk about Jesus, right, and who he was, a lot of what he did was unheard of. He was crucified because he dared go against established religion. He was crucified because he taught people how to really get closer to God. And it wasn't about how many years you spent in the seminary or how good of a person you were, because the disciples, Mark and them, Matthew especially, right? The corrupt banker, they were a beautiful blend of misfits, right? That he pulled together and called by name, which means he knew that they were a band of misfits, but that didn't prevent him from seeing the good in them and the good that they had to provide society with. And that opens up the discussion to, talking about Mary Magdalene, right? And even though Yeshua did such good work on trying to reestablish what it means to be connected to Source and who Source really is, right? They still tried, and they succeeded for centuries to pull the wool over the eyes of the collective to maintain power, because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, maintaining power. But if we have you and you and you and you and you stepping into your light and inspiring other people to step into their light, and they're inspiring other people to step into their light, well, statistically speaking, it's only a matter of time before the great wealth transfer happens. And we get that much closer to building utopia, right? How did I do it? That's a great question. Fortunately, one of my biggest blessings out of my childhood is my dad always encouraging me to ask questions. And I think he low-key did it so he could get shits and giggles every time the Jehovah Witnesses would show up at our door, because he's like, yeah, go ask them your questions. And I would pull up scriptures and I'm like, it says this, and but I think it means that. And they would, well, a couple of them try to talk to me because I'm just a kid, right? I was 9, 10, 11 years old. I'm just a kid, right? Put me in my place. But most of them were like, yeah, we're not coming back here anymore. So he always held that space for me to answer questions and never said whether I was right or wrong. He let me be free to be me, right? And I'm very, very grateful that I had that experience, because a lot of people have the opposite experience. It's not until I brought those discussions to the nuns and the priests, they were very like, no, 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 you have to say this and you have to do this. And I'm like, it doesn't feel right. And as a kid, it's hard to say, this doesn't feel right, to an adult, right? I mean, now we can, because, we give children more value. We give children and their thoughts and opinions more freedom to be. But my dad was very progressive, right? In that regard. It's the adults that are like, no, But I also worked, right? I've been reading cards from a very young age. I come from a very spiritual family, right? So while I would hear one thing in church with my hands, with my eyes, I'm seeing something totally different and they're not making sense. I realized that a lot of the word, people would use specific passages in the Bible and kind of shift the meaning, like tell you what it means. But you've all read books, right? You can read a sentence and everybody can read the same sentence, but it invokes a different feeling within all of us. And it's supposed to, right? Most authors write that way, but we were taught in the Catholic Church not to question things, just to do things. And I'm a rebel, born and bred rebel. So I would always question things, especially the things that didn't feel right. So when we go back to the beginning, when children know things, they may not have the words to say that they know things. Not only can I scientifically prove that, but I've experienced that. In my young adulthood, it wasn't until I got to college where my radical spiritual ideas, my English professor, my first undergrad English professor, Professor Bob Slaymaker, right? And I will always remember his name because that whole idea that I tell you guys, that I share with you guys about what it means to turn the other cheek, when I wrote about it passionately in my essay, he ate it up like it was the best meal ever. He's one of the first people outside of my family that really encouraged me to dig deeper, seek deeper, right? For a moment in time, I looked into all the religions, and a lot of them have the same thing in common, right? Worshiping, praising that one God, right? But the other thing that they had in common was misleading the people, saying that God can only show up this way, right? For these people. And only these people can have, access to X, Y, Z. And I'm like, well, if he's omnipotent and he's all knowing and he made all of us, right? Who am I to say that this is bad and that is bad? I just want to do what he came here, or he had me here to do, right? Following the wisdom of King Solomon, right? Not so much about the riches, that's nice, but give me the strength and ability to do what I need to do. And as I got better with saying, you know what, the adults are saying this, but I'm feeling this, and really, really saying F you to the system. Really pushing past what you've been taught, and then making that list of examples where I was taught this, but life has taught me that. I was taught to pray this way, but when I pray that way, I get instant results. I've noticed that when I meditate more, I can discern between the voice of the Holy Spirit versus the voice of doubt. It takes work. Going back to how Spirit told you to commit to a plan, commit to a foundation, right? That is going to be helpful because now you're holding you accountable for establishing that relationship on your terms. When we come to the ATRs and the religions and the this and that, everybody has everything to say on how it should be done. But the oak tree and the rose bush don't grow the same in the forest. True, they both start off as seeds, but they have vastly different journeys. Each and every one of you have a vastly different journey. There's similarities, especially in the beginning, right? In that gestational stage, right? Just as you're poking through the ground stage and leaves start to bloom and things start to happen, right? People start to see the magnitude of who and what you are. And as you're going through your journey, Isolde, right? Learning this and knowing that and adding so much to your toolbox, right? You now have the wisdom to help others do the same. Get yourself a good advisor. And once you pray on it, your guides will show you where to go. Who is the best fit to help you on this leg of the journey? And commit to the plan. Not what Google says or ChatGPT says. Hell, not what Etta says. But what you know is true. Start getting comfortable. Somebody else got that in their message today, right? Really, really, really trusting your intuition. Really, really, really knowing that voice That's you. That's your higher self connecting to source. That's you speaking to Abba. That's you speaking to the Most High. And with that conversation, don't let anybody come between and be like, yeah, God wouldn't say that. God wouldn't do that. Right? We could go on and on and on about what God can and cannot do. But at the end of the day, God has the last word, not us. No matter how many years we spent in school or how many degrees we have or how much time we spent in the seminary and we've been to the Vatican and blah, 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 blah. That's nice, right? Shout out to all my folks that have a master's degree and beyond, right? I love that, right? We love that, right? That's great. But everybody's journey is different. And there are people amongst us who haven't even completed junior high school that are wiser than all of us combined. Trust your intuition. Trust what you know is true. And don't let anybody deter you from your truth. Even if your truth, you look back and you're like, maybe I was wrong for doing that. Maybe. But even that wrong was right because it helped you along your journey one way or another. Ma'am, look, you've had gray hair since you were 19. You were born wise. You were born with the spirit of discernment. Stop playing. Stop playing. My goodness. Yeah, we're definitely going to do more of these because the more we sit together, the more the Holy Spirit comes through. I love when it comes through for you guys individually, but collectively, because there's lots of bits of information. Like there's people who have been with us for the entire life, and I think we're going on into 2 hours, right? They haven't said a word, but got the word that they needed to hear today through bits and pieces of everybody else's messages and readings. Juicy. So till this day, to wrap around back to your question, to this day, it's still a challenge because as a priestess, people will tell me, oh, you're not supposed to be doing that. And my priestess does it like this. And you're supposed to, I've seen too much. I've heard too much. I've witnessed too many a miracle to know that there's no one way to do anything. And yes, you are a healer. And we always say a healer's first job is to heal themselves. Before we wrap up this really, really long live, any thoughts, questions, feelings that you want to share with the collective? Anytime. You guys know I do the coaching and mentoring. I am pretty full this season. But whoever is called is called. And there's always room. The most important thing is aligning with individuals that can help you. Sincerely, genuinely help you. Those of you who are in the tri-state area, this summer you're really going to have to pay attention to your intuition and just follow it. Don't worry if it's crazy or if it's weird or try to judge the thoughts and dreams and visions that are coming through. Just do it. Just do what you're being called to. I think, it's not like we're going to perform brain surgery today, right, Loka? Where, there's steps to performing brain, I would think, right? I'm not a brain surgeon, don't know a brain surgeon, but it looks like, right, from what I've seen on Grey's Anatomy, there's steps to it, right? When you're doing in spirituality, it's not so much winging it, it flows how it's supposed to flow for that individual, right? We're not going, it's not like you get in the car, you put on your seatbelt, you press, you turn on the ignition, right? Or you push on the ignition, right? Like everybody is going to be different, right? Spirit's going to come through with different solutions, and sometimes it's going to be similar. Sometimes it may even be the exact same solution for two different people. It low key feels like you're winging it, but it's just customly made for that individual. Custom guidance for that individual. Hi, Brianna. Try not to lean into it too much. Like, if somebody pops up and you have the answer, especially when that answer comes through immediately, give it to them, share it with them without that filter of whether or not it's their karma, right? Especially as a Scorpio, right? Holding that sickle, right? You beautiful hooded figure, you know, right? It's just doing. Because oftentimes you'll do what you're supposed to do and the person will still fumble it, right? And that's their karma. I just be suspicious of everybody same, right? Because there's monsters out there. Real living, breathing monsters. I would rather be in a room of non-living monsters than living monsters, because people, my goodness, people. If you guys have any thoughts, any feelings, any questions, anything that pops up during the day tomorrow, because I want to say there's an 80% chance we'll be back on tomorrow, right? You can sign up for a reading, right? Either get a personal reading off live or sign up for a reading on the live. We can only do but so many on the live because then we'll be on here for forever. And then that makes me really, really hungry. So I'm going to go and get a snack I trust on this Tuesday. It's a beautiful day here in New York. It's going to rain for 3 days in a row. But, journal about what you want summer to look like. Journal about what you want summer to look like, and let's talk about it tomorrow. Yeah. Yeah. Let's do that, right? Shift the energy. Friday, is Friday the graduation? Is Little Big graduating? I love this time of year. My loves, always be kind to yourself and one another. Thank you. Especially now that we've hit the 2-hour mark, right? Thank you so much for spending this time with Spirit, the Soul Tribe, and me. Have an amazing day and stay blessed.